We're ready to begin. Thank you for coming, and I'd like to call up to the podium Rita Williams and Diane Dwyer. Welcome them. Well, just Rita.
Oh, well, I'll explain now. Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to make you do exercises or yoga like we did last year, but I do want to have a little wake-up call. And so this year, I thought I would have you share something that my favorite cameraman, Bill Moore, who was married to Belva Davis, the first African-American woman anchor west of the Mississippi. And Bill is now 92, and we're in touch every week. But he used to give what we call mic checks. You've probably seen people do that. They stand up at the mic to make sure you can't hear me, right? Okay, that's a mic check. But if a president came or some dignitary, the other camera people would say, okay, Bill, you go up and do the mic check. Because Bill was legendary, and this is what he would say, and I say it all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ain't it grand to be alive? Now, if that's not a good mic check, so I'm going to make you do that. Okay, with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ain't it grand to be alive? And it is indeed wonderful to be alive and to be back with you guys this year. You have been what I call my Pathways family now for 26 years, we think it is, that I've been up here emceeing this wonderful One from the Heart breakfast. And the first year I did it, I enlisted a news colleague of mine, who's now the late Faith Fancher. You may remember her struggle with breast cancer. And it had just begun. And back then, Pathways was called something else. I don't even remember the name. Anybody remember the name? What? Mid-Peninsula. No. It was before that, because you were in the East Bay. So anyway, Faith, they had a luncheon on the same day that we had the breakfast over here. So Faith emceed the luncheon in the East Bay on that day, and I did the breakfast over here. And we always had that we shared and laughed about through the years. But I have been here with you all those years, and I consider you Pathways family. You and I have aged together, some of us more than others. Me in particular. You have been here to watch me as a first generation of women doing hard news on television, some awards I got, my son's marriage, remember those pictures? And the birth of my 2 wonderful grandchildren who are now 4 and 2. The passing of my mother, who used to sit back here with Bridgepoint at Los Altos. Remember, she was the one that yelled out one day, why don't they get him off the stage and put my daughter back up? I can understand what she's saying. He talks too fast. Oh, she was a corker, 95. But she passed with the loving care of Pathways, as you all know. And then my husband, Lindsay, who has unfortunately had a lot of medical setbacks the last 7 years. And right now is, again, we have Pathways Home Health Care. And he graduates, we hope, on Saturday from that, but he could not be here today, so he sends his wishes to you. And you may remember that we gave an award one year after his open heart surgery to the wonderful physical therapist who's still with Pathways and who did come again this year, and that is Amit. So a big shout out to Amit, the wonderful, wonderful Pathways physical therapist. I really do know a lot of you so well. I love your faces. I love the hugs this morning. So many of you are friends in and out of Pathways, but I love you all for supporting this wonderful organization. Our speaker today will tell you later that life is about change. I think we all know that. And not only have we changed the time of this breakfast this year, it's later in the year. Sports are in full favor, except Bob Lurie's former Giants are done. And I think it's time that I announce a bit of change about myself. I have decided that it's time for me to retire. So I am going to pass the microphone today. And I used to always laugh that I was worried you would keep asking me to come back, which you still are asking me. I'm not being fired. I'm willingly retiring. But I was afraid you might have to push me up here in a wheelchair someday. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm 77, but I'm luckily very healthy, and I'm going willingly. But you may remember, some of you that are old-timers, that I was not the first choice to be the MC that first year here. It was a news colleague of mine who was asked, and she couldn't make it. And she called me and asked if I could replace her that day. And I said, sure. Well, now it's time for her to return the favor. And I must say, she said yes, willingly and happily. So that new person, and old person, is Diane Dwyer. Diane, will you come up?
Hello, darling.
Now, most of you probably know Diane from her anchoring and reporting on television for many years.
Which was also a while back, so there you
Well,
go.
not that long. But she's also teaching at Cal, which is her, where you graduated from.
I did.
And she's teaching in the business school there now for more than 15 years. And her other big announcement is that she has joined her sister Patty Dwyer at Compass Real Estate and is selling real estate here on the peninsula. So you can call Diane for that too. And those of you who may be worried that she's too much of a Cal fan, and
Go
you,
Bears.
no, Cardinal. And you know I was on a fellowship at Stanford, and I taught at Stanford. So we have that we can joke about, right?
Of course.
But I want to tell you that Diane is an equal opportunity mother. Her two children have both graduated from Stanford. So you're in good company with Diane Dwyer. Diane,
Thank
welcome.
you, Rita. Thank you very much. So 26 years later, she let me back. It was very nice of her to be back. And yes, I love Cal and Stanford. I do have a sweatshirt now that has half Cal, half Stanford on it. And during big game, I think I could start a whole new business there selling those. Everybody's, where'd you get that? But I put that together so that I could support my children as well as myself during some of those big games those years. So I'm so happy to be here. It's lovely. My sister Peggy Bradshaw has been involved with Pathways for years, and I think that's partly how I may have gotten that first invitation way back when. But Rita has loved. I've heard about it for all these years too. How much Rita has loved being here and being a part of Pathways, and how much Pathways means to you and your family, also. When I think about the Bay Area, and I was just talking to folks at my table, it's just amazing, right? The amount of just accomplished people here who have done amazing things with their lives, and you never know what they are oftentimes, and you're chatting with someone. And it's one of my favorite stories in my TV world. I was covering a story about getting flu shots. It wasn't an investigative piece. It was just getting flu shots. And I went to Alta Bates, and I interviewed a doctor there and asked him, the questions about getting flu shots. And then at the end, I said, hey, I actually need some video of someone getting a flu shot. Is there anybody waiting? And he said, there's a gentleman next door waiting. Let me ask him if it's okay. He says, it's okay. We come in. We just take video of the gentleman getting a flu shot. I don't interview him or anything else. I just need the video. And then as he's leaving with his wife, I thought, well, that was kind of rude. I didn't introduce myself. I didn't, I should go. So I ran up to him and I caught himself, he and his wife, and I ran up to him, and I was like, excuse me, sir. I just wanted to let you know that you're going to be on television tonight, 10 o'clock, Channel 2. Just delighted in a really silly voice. And he goes, thank you so much. And his wife says, he's actually been on television once before. And I said, oh, that's so great. What for? And his wife says, oh, he won the Nobel Prize in economics. So the flu shot isn't a big moment for you. Only in the Bay Area to get someone getting a flu shot who's a Nobel Prize winner, right? It was an amazing moment and humbling. Another reminder when we're here how special this place is. So I felt that a little bit today, talking to many of the folks I'm meeting for the first time, and a lot of folks who I'm getting to see who I haven't seen in a long time too. So, okay, on that note, I get to go through, we don't have this beautiful breakfast without a whole lot of people working very hard to make it happen, and sponsors as well. So I'd like to go through some of those sponsors. And what I'd love for you to do, if you could raise your hand as I call you out, we're going to try to go through them all and then have a lovely round of applause for everybody. And let me see here. So I'd like to start first with our breakfast underwriters, and they are El Camino Healthcare District board members Julia Miller. Julia, a wave. Thank you, Julia. Dr. Carol Summersill, who's vice chair. Thank you. And Dr. John Zaglin, secretary treasurer. Thank you. Okay, we've got everybody there. And also Cheryl Reinking from El Camino Hospital, chair of the Pathways Board of Directors. So thank you very much, all of you. Let's do a round for that round of our fabulous underwriters. And we are also grateful to all our community partners, the individuals, the corporations, foundations, and organizations. They're all listed in your program that have made major financial and or volunteer commitments to Pathways and One from the Heart. Along with each of you, because your presence here today makes a difference as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for filling up this ballroom yet again for this event. And also a very special thank you to our hospital partner, our other hospital partner, Dignity Health Sequoia Hospital, and CEO Bill Graham, along with executives John Daniff, Eleanor Eberhard, and Kim Costello, who are all members of the Pathways Board of Directors. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. We are also joined by our management services partners, Common Spirit Health at Home, led by soon-to-be retired CEO Dan Dietz, and Charlotte Haish, Regional Vice President for the West. Thank you very much to Common Spirit Health at Home. And we've got a lot of Matching Challenge Grants donors listed in your program. You will hear a bit more about them a little bit later in our program. A huge thanks to the One from the Heart Committee. These are the folks who get this done. They work hard throughout the year to put this wonderful breakfast together. Please stand, ladies, if you are part of the One from the Heart Committee. Please stand. I'm going to have you please stand, please. I know who you are. The success of this breakfast. Thank you for standing. We've got standing. Here we go. Kingsley, stand back up. Here we go. Thank you. Okay. So the success of this breakfast depends on the dedication of these Pathways ambassadors. Thank you for the work you do, for filling up the room, and for always making a difference and always believing in Pathways. We'd also like to thank the Ambassador Program co-chairs, Christine Allo and Suzanne Small. Thank you, Christine and Suzanne, for being our chairs this year. As you probably know, the One from the Heart is celebrating its 32nd anniversary, and many of you have been with us for many of those years, including Rita. And thank you for believing in Pathways, and congratulations on the shining results of working so hard, because so far we have raised $8.4 million and counting for Pathways. That is pretty great. And we want to recognize all the Pathways volunteers who are here, the staff who is here. I've gotten to meet a lot of the staff who all support One from the Heart. One big round of applause for everybody who's making this happen today. And I know this is a tradition, so I'll just remind you all, but I think it's a really special tradition. The candle centerpieces are from our featured speaker, Karen Swensen's company called Life's About Change. So thank you, Karen, for the candle centerpieces. They're beautiful. And then the greenery around them from the candles is arranged by Beth Covey of the Sassy Diva. And these, as you know, sometimes when you're at these events, they'll draw a name or, a number at the table and you get to bring it home with you. But we don't do that here. We give all of these flowers and the lights and the candles to our patients at Pathways. And so it goes to families and supporters to lighten their day a little bit today as well. So that's what's going to happen. The flowers and the light from the candles remind patients, family, and friends that they're not alone during these times. So I think it's a really special way of sort of reminding us all of why we're here and sending, they bring light and joy to us here, and then they will to the Pathways patients and families later today. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Miss Karen Krieger to take over the stage for me. Karen, where are you? I see you over there. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited for the program today. I'll see you a little later, but thank you for having me 26 years later. Thank you, Rita, for handing over the baton. And Karen, the stage is yours, my dear. You're welcome. Thank you. You're wonderful.
So welcome to all of you. As Diane said, I'm Karen Krieger, Executive Director of Philanthropy for Pathways Home Health and Hospice. It's absolutely delightful to be here again in person to see you all here to support Pathways. We thank you for joining us for the 32nd annual One from the Heart Awards breakfast. You've already heard that we've raised over $8.4 million for Pathways, thanks to your generosity and loyal support. We have provided services to over 135,000 families through the years. I think that's just phenomenal. Thank you. You made it possible. We hope you enjoyed our slideshow with this year's sponsors and supporters and photographs of some of the people you know. Please do continue to enjoy your breakfast as we move the program along. We've included a menu in case you wonder what you're eating in the program. And don't forget the muffins in the little baskets. Every once in a while we overlook those, so please eat them. I'm pleased to introduce two new members of our foundation fundraising team. Taylor Stanton, who is somewhere in the back at the AV table. Wave, Taylor. And our new special events manager, long sought after, Andrea Sang. And I'm not sure where Andrea ended up in the room. There she is in the back. So next year at this time, you'll be talking to Andrea a whole lot more than you even did today. As you know, One from the Heart celebrates both those who support hospice and home health care and those who provide that care. Every day, our Pathways caregivers and volunteers, hospice and home health and bereavement teams bring heartfelt care to Pathways patients and families across our 5-county service area. I'd like you to meet the leader of our team, Pathways Executive Director, Mary Pat Larsen, and recent recipient of the Award for Improvement in Hospice Operations among the 28 agencies who work with our Common Spirit Health at Home Management Services provider. Mary Pat.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Rita and Diane. I'm so humbled by the attendance today. This is my first breakfast. I've been with Pathways as the executive director for only 2 years, so I'm the newbie. But I will tell you a little secret. 7 years ago, I was actually a customer of Pathways. My late husband had the hospice services through Pathways. and that was a life-changing experience. So when the opportunity came along a few years ago to join Pathways, I realized it was a calling, and I've never looked back. I am so grateful for the employees that we have, and when Karen and I were talking about planning this months ago, we started with, let's just highlight the volunteer service. And that bled into many more things. So I promise, Karen, we're only going to take 10 minutes, but I do want to highlight several of the departments, and those people that represent those departments will speak how unique each one is. So if you'll indulge us for the next few minutes, I am thrilled right now to first introduce our volunteer service coordinator, Evie, who has been with Pathways for some time. And this woman is always in the background. She is like this silent angel making things happen with all the volunteers. So when I asked her to join us, she, oh, no. But here she is. So.
Good morning, everyone. Pathways would not be the caring, compassionate organization we are without our volunteers. Indeed, Pathways was founded by volunteers who remain at the heart of what we do. Our volunteers help in the office, they raise funds to support our agency, they make our bereavement program available to anyone in the community who's lost a loved one. They provide specialized services to our veterans, and they make visits to support patients and their families. Our visual volunteers are very special people. We provide comfort and care during the last moments of their life. So now, I'd like to introduce you to Tiffany Rose Mockler, one of those very special volunteers.
Thank you for letting me say a few words about my volunteer experience with Pathways. My name is Tiffany Rose Mockler, and I have been a Pathways volunteer for 16 years. I rarely speak about my volunteerism because I believe, like a birthday wish, if one speaks about their good works, it loses its intention. However, when my gracious and selfless volunteer coordinator, Evie, asked me to speak, I always happily accept. A brief background about me. My older sister died suddenly when I was 8 years old. It was a mysterious grand mal seizure, but she was not an epileptic, and to this day, we don't know what caused the death. My family was devastated. And the catastrophic effort and effect it had on my life and parents was irreparable. It tore us apart. It shifted who I was to become. Years later, when I was attending San Jose State University, a hospice worker came to speak to one of my classes about his work. And after finishing speaking, I was so moved. I knew that once I was out of school, this is exactly what I wanted to do to give back to my community. I wanted to ensure that others did not have my experience with grief and bereavement. I wanted to help people say goodbye. Simply put, I wanted better for anyone and everyone. Selfishly, with each assignment, I get to overwrite my own experience. End-of-care life is an honor. It is one of the most honest phases of a person's life, and I bear witness to this precious time. I champion the patient's comfort, preferences, and sense of peace to the best of my abilities during this death process. I also aid in doing that for their caregivers and their families, whether I'm holding the hand of an actively transitioning grandmother, giving a break to an exhausted spouse to take a shower, or I am babysitting the toddler brother of a dying baby sister who needs both parents to change her diaper. I try to rise to whatever occasion is asked of me. Volunteers of Pathways honor death practices, provide trained services such as comfort touch, pet therapy, Reiki, or aromatherapy, and we report and advocate for patients and their surroundings. We serve as custodians of safety wherever our patient is, be it a skilled nursing facility or at home. We keep steady communication between our patient's social worker and the families so that the ever-changing needs of the patient are met. Weekly, we do the little things that add up to a seminal experience for families and the dying. We fill in and round out a patient's last story here on earth. Core memories are made around death. How it is handled. How people react and how people grieve are delicate and precious things. I humbly take the responsibility on and continue to grow and learn with each encounter. This nonprofit supports me, trains me, and checks in with me weekly. They make me feel valued and important. I have a wonderful community here who offers me counseling, resources, and advocates for my well-being like I was a staff member or a patient. Volunteering with Pathways has been the single most rewarding practice of my life. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tiffany. Now we'd like to introduce you Miriam Samala, East Bay Clinical Manager, who will tell you a little bit how vital the home health aides are to our team. Miriam.
Thank you, Abby. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Miriam. I'm the manager of the clinical services in the East Bay, and I'm truly honored to be here today to speak of our most humbled team members, our amazing home health aides. So every discipline on our team comes to work with their heart on their sleeve, but our home health aides do an amazing job. They have a special place in our heart. But we have a special place in our heart for the home health aides. Their job requires so much intimacy, as well as physical and mental, emotional endurance. I'm always amazed at the way that the grace that they have when they meet our new patients who are at their most vulnerable times of their lives. Their ability to quickly form deep, working, respectful relationships makes such a difference. They have the finesse in fluently communicating with patients, even if they don't speak the same language or they don't speak at all. When I call families to check in, the home health aide is usually the first team member that the family member brings up. They thank us for sending somebody so compassionate, somebody that can lessen their burden. Our aides know what a difficult time it is, and they adapt to each situation to assure that the needs are met for the patient and the families. They also encourage families to take a much-needed break, a well-deserved break, and they know that their loved one is being cared for. Families often share with us that they learn the most from our home health aides just by watching them perform their care. They say that they make it look so easy. We've received many beautiful compliments and comments about what great listeners they are and confidants. During care, Patients often divulge information to the home health aides that they forgot to tell the nurse or another team member. They're excellent communicators, and they relay observations and concerns promptly to their nurses. Most recently, we had a patient who was in the process of resolving some longtime family dynamics, and she wasn't very receptive to the rest of our team. But when our home health aide went in, she got smiles and short conversations from the moment that she met her. The daughter reported that as her mother was barely responding on her last day, our nurse aide went in, the patient recognized her voice, opened her eyes, and gave her one of her last smiles. She was calm after that. Another patient lives alone and has been very independent and reluctant for caregivers, but she needs them, and she agreed to meet our home health aide just to give her a few housekeeping tasks to get to know her. Within 2 short weeks, the home health aide developed a relationship with her and is giving her the personal care that she needs. So the added touch to our home health aides, the added touch that our home health aides give to our services is just priceless. So thank you for letting me honor them.
Thank you, Miriam. Now please welcome April Schirmer, Home Health Aide Supervisor and winner of the Common Spirit Hello Human Kindness Award this year. I also want to be like her when I grow up.
Hello, everybody. I'm beyond honored to be here today. My name is April Schirmer, and I am a registered nurse. I have worked for this wonderful company, Pathways, for 22 years, and I have had the honor of supervising the Pathways Home Health Aid Department for 12. I am responsible for a wonderful, wonderful group of caring and compassionate home health aides, and I am proud of each and every one of them. But today, I am here to speak about the recipient of the Pathways Common Spirit Caregiver Award of the Year, our East Bay Home Health Aid Angel, Miss Doreen Ardafio. Yes, that's my girl. There are so many words that I could use to describe Miss Doreen: responsible, conscientious, self-reliant, unassuming, just to name a few. Doreen takes such pride in her work. She can be placed in any situation, be it good, tumultuous, troubled, and she finds her way to serve the patient with compassion and grace, leaving that patient and family only wanting her to care for their loved one throughout their hospice journey. I have witnessed Doreen in action many times during her 12-year tenure here at Pathways. She walks into a patient's home or facility. She brings a sense of calm and knowing that she is there to provide quality care with her gentle, skilled touch and her most compassionate heart. I'm always so proud to observe Doreen in action. She leaves no stone unturned, and always a sense of peace and comfort to her patients. Okay, I don't want to break down. I was never more proud of her than 3 years ago when Doreen was assigned to be the home health aide for my stepdad, Bobby Johnson. He was diagnosed with end-stage bladder cancer. Doreen made visits to my parents' home 3 times a week. Both Bobby and my mom, Brenda, felt instantly in love with her and all the care she provided. She taught my mom many tips and tricks regarding how to move, turn, reposition Bobby, how to properly stand when doing so, how to maneuver him when my mom was by herself. She provided supplies to my mom on her visits. She would even arrive a bit early just to visit with my mom and give her emotional support. Ask her how she was doing throughout this process. Doreen would take the time to answer questions that may have come up during their time apart. She was simply an angel. Every time she would leave, my mother would give her something that she crocheted for her in her quiet time while she watched Bobby sleep at night. My mom would always stay up at night watching Bobby sleep. His peaceful sleep gave her peace, and with that peace, she would meditate by crocheting. During Doreen's assignment to care for my stepdad, she came away with and would proudly wear hats and scarves that my mom made especially for her as a token of her deep appreciation for the care that she so graciously provided. This is just one story about the care this beautiful, kind-hearted spirit bestows to her patients on a daily basis. Doreen makes her entire Pathways team proud that she's one of us. And I am also so proud of her. Thank you.
Thank you, April. And now, last but not least, we have Cantor Richard Schultz, Pathways Spiritual Care Manager and Counselor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Schwartz, and I'm the proud manager of the spiritual care team at Pathways. And rather than speaking about the care team this morning, I wanted to share a song with you, and I want to invite you to sing along. But I just also want to say how blessed I am to be a part of Pathways, how extraordinary it is to be part of this wonderful team. And these are troubling times, and many of us have been greatly affected by the events of the last month. As a Jewish religious leader, I am particularly impacted by the level of grief and trauma to the residents of Gaza and Israel, and concerned about the future and concerned about us and our future. How do we cope with the anxiety, the anger, the sense of helplessness? How do we maintain our faith that goodness will prevail? Where do we turn to in times of emotional and spiritual need? In ways not dissimilar to grieving the loss of a loved one, our healing occurs through inviting tenderness, and we are called to draw upon inner and outer sources for comfort and strength. We come to rely on and to develop practices that support us in the midst of loss and pain. One practice that I've turned to is singing, and I would like to share a song, a very simple melody, and invite you to join me with it. The text is drawn from Psalm 51. And the words simply say, "Create a pure heart in me, great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me." And renew a true soul within. And if you're in any way uncomfortable invoking a deity, you can not say the word Great Spirit, but I please invite you to sing along with me. Great Spirit, create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. I can hear you singing a little bit. Please sing. That's very nice. Let's try that again. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. One last time. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for singing, and thank you for the work that you do. I really appreciate it, and it makes such a difference in our world.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for your support. Back to Rita Williams for our award presentation.
So I'm not done yet. And thank you for those wonderful stories, truly. And I've experienced some of what they have talked about in my family. Everyone involved with Pathways. Being a nonprofit, it is a very special organization. And that's why I've been so willing to do this for a long time. But I asked to come up to do this award because the Chazen family, and if you look in your programs, you'll see a little bit about them. but they are a very special family, and I've gotten to know through the years. If there was ever any way to raise money for Pathways, Aaron and Mari were involved. Members of the Pathways Foundation Fundraising Board, serving in the Finance and Investment Committee, bringing fun and excitement, always, to the golf tournament, co-chairing this very breakfast committee. All that while they raised two remarkable children, cared for their own family members, and managed demanding careers, and then they started their own company, Treasury Curve. There is truly no way to adequately express our appreciation for all that their family has done. So it's my honor today to present what is a very special award for Pathways, the One from the Heart Award to the Chazen family, especially if you will come up now, Aaron and Mari, and accept this award. It's heavy. It's sort of like an Emmy. They're very heavy, but they're very beautiful if I can get the box open. So here is the beautiful One from the Heart Award. Thank you. You have the floor.
I started volunteering for Pathways when my son I was pregnant. And here he is today. He's 25 years old. So it's been a long go for me. And our family accepts this award very humbly and are very honored. And we accept it in honor of the doctors, the nurses, the healthcare workers, Pathways staff, and most importantly, our patients and their families who inspire us every day. So thank you so much. And also thanks to all of you, our supporters. And I have to recognize my group of special friends who always showed up for me at this breakfast so early in the morning. And thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
I have a few things to say. I didn't come with anything prepared. What I do know is it is a privilege to be able to serve, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. Really the forefront of how we volunteer as a family is led by my wife, and she just simply inspires me to be a better person every day, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Thanks for this honor.
What a remarkable family. I didn't mention Sam's name, and the other child is Annie. And I've gotten to know Annie well through all these years, even as a little kid, because she's been volunteering and helping with this breakfast. And I'll tell you a secret that I told Annie a year ago, was that I was going to retire soon. And I wanted her to continue to be a part of this breakfast. So maybe one day she will be the MC in training when she graduates from college, and will help Diane, and I will be here to watch. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Annie. And she is reprising the role that she has done for many, many breakfasts here. Annie?
Hi, everyone. Long time no see. I'm Annie Chazen. I stand here before you with immense pride and gratitude, both as a devoted daughter and representative of the Chazen family. Many of you have seen me at the One from the Heart breakfast in person since I was in middle school. If there's one good thing we learned from COVID-19, it's that a little distance can't keep us from supporting each other.
I joined you virtually for 3 years from my college campus of Syracuse University. This year, as a senior, my professors have allowed me to miss a couple lectures to be here today because they understand how important it is for me to be here with my family and to ask for your support once again. Today, we gather not only to celebrate Pathways, but also to recognize my mom, Mari Chazen. My mom has experienced the pain of losing not one, but 2 mothers to cancer, both before the age of 27. More recently, she suffered the loss of her father, John Mueller. Both my mom and my grandpa taught me resilience, strength, and offered unconditional love all throughout my life. Today, I stand here and recognize both of them. Pathways holds a special place in my family's hearts, and we are more than grateful for the love and support they have provided our family during this time. Pathways is an organization that exemplifies compassion and dedication. Once again, we're challenged to meet their generosity with the $75,000 challenge grant. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Marion and Raymond Christensen, Paula and Bill Power, Kingsley Jack, Pamela and Edward Taft, and Sue and John Diekman. You can donate today by using the envelope in your program, or take the envelope home and use the information to give online, via email, or call the foundation office. All donations will be fully tax deductible under the law, and all gifts up to $75,000 will be doubled if you give between now and December 8th. I didn't do the math this year, but Sam, maybe you can pull out your calculator and divide the number of people by $75,000. So just ask him if you're wondering how much. Helping our courageous caregivers take care of our friends and family is just that easy. We can't do it alone, but we can surely do it together. Thanks again, and I'm so honored to be here with all of you again.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you to the Chazens for their many, many years of support for Pathways. And thanks to all of you for all the years and wonderful support that you have provided to Pathways. I'm Mark Kelsey. I'm the chair of the Foundation Fundraising Board. And we've had an opportunity to hear today the wonderful work that the Pathways team does, and that's why we're all here. We're all here to support Pathways and each and every member of the Pathways team in providing that wonderful care to our community. And so today, we're very pleased to join us in supporting the Pathways team, our speaker, Karen Swensen. Karen is a former WWL-TV host in New Orleans. She covered the storms of Katrina even while her own home was being destroyed. Karen has won 10 Emmy and 6 Edward R. Murrow Regional Awards, as well as numerous Gracie Gabriel Associated Press and Press Club Awards for investigative journalism, writing, and feature reporting. Karen said, "Everything has a purpose. I've been through a lot of life changes, and if I can help someone make it a little easier, then it's all worth it." That purpose helped Karen leave a successful television career to start her own company, Life's About Change, which is committed to providing a platform of support, encouragement, and optimism in a rapidly changing world. She said, "Change is a certainty. Embracing it and accepting it can lead the way to joy, no matter the circumstances." Please join me in welcoming Karen Swensen.
Hello, everybody. So good to see so many of you. I met you last night, and I haven't even been here 24 hours yet, and I feel like I've made like 100 new friends, maybe now 300 for those of you I haven't met yet. It is delightful to be here and get this just little blast of fall weather here on the West Coast. And I was just on the East Coast about a week and a half ago visiting my daughter at NYU, where that's my baby girl. I just use every opportunity to show that child. Do any of you guys have teenagers or young kids or grandkids in the family that are teenagers and you're kind of starting to learn from them, or they're trying to teach you because they're at that stage where they know that you know nothing about anything? This is my daughter in her more natural state growing up. That's my baby girl. Mom, she says, Mom, grades don't matter. Those 4 words actually came out of my daughter's mouth recently, and she's actually been saying them for quite some time, since high school. Grades don't matter. I often say that my daughter, it's her ability to turn a phrase, her ability to write her essay that got her into her dream school, but it is on me to keep her there, and I am a single mom paying full tuition, room and board at NYU and NYC, where a bagel the other day cost me $17.95. And I'm saying, grades don't matter? You had to pull me off the ceiling, I'm telling you. All right. I'm here to tell you that the only reason that she's still around to echo those words is because one day, fairly recently, she expounded on them. I was fit to be tied at the moment, telling her study harder, get a higher grade, keep going. And she said, Mom, when I was holding Dad's hand for those 3 hours as he passed, everything became clear. She was barely 15 at that time. Grades don't matter. This matters. It doesn't mean I won't do my best. I will, but what I value cannot be measured by a letter. And it was then that I realized all those years of her saying those words, and I was thinking it were her words of rebellion, were just her truth. Grades don't matter. What does matter are the bonds that we form among us and the lessons that we learn along the way. I am Karen Swensen, founder of Life's About Change. I'm a mom, I'm a widow, I'm a journalist. Now, as crazy as it sounds, I'm an entrepreneur, really just trying to help other people navigate life's changes, either through sharing stories from those who've lived them, or maybe lessons I've learned the hard way myself. But before we get really started, I just want to say thank you, as I did last night. Thank you for what you do for our friends and loved ones, and for their families. If you were there last night, you know I often compare my husband's passing to that of my grandmother. They both died of cancer within about 18 months of each other. My grandmother had it for 4 months. My husband had it for 7 agonizing years. Ironically, though, she had hospice. He didn't. He, in many ways, was ripped away. He had a gastric bleed very suddenly, and it was excruciating. It was such a traumatic event, especially for my little girl. Whereas my grandmother, conversely, she was surrounded by love and comfort. And they say, you know, your senses are so heightened in those times of extreme stress. And I just remember the sounds, and I was talking about that again last night. It was just the sound of calm, right? There was beautiful music in the background, music that she loved when she was growing up. And there was the comforting words of the hospice caregivers and the nurses and the volunteers asking us if we needed anything else. And yes, there was laughter as we reminisced about a life so very well lived. It was peace. Peace for my grandmother and peace for our family that was left with that enduring memory. So hospice, to me, is not an industry or a service. It is, as you said, I'm sure, an honor from your perspective. From those of us on the receiving end, it's a gift. You give us the gift of peace. So I hope that you know, for those who aren't here, we collectively offer you our heartfelt gratitude. You are who we run to take off a little bit of that emotional load when we just can't handle it anymore, right? We're at our lowest and we are drained. But to take the load off of our backs, you're putting it on your own. And I would imagine that weight gets a little heavy. I would imagine that. So I just want you to do me a favor. I just want you to drop your shoulders. How many of you right now don't even realize that you're sitting like this? Just drop your shoulders. Drop your shoulders. Exhale, right? Because this event is about catching your breath, right? And leaving recharged and hopefully a little bit inspired. I often say there are two kinds of change, right? There's the kind that we aspire to, right? We celebrate it when we've attained it. And the kind that you didn't look for, is forced upon you, can bring you to your knees. Both types are stressful. The good kinds, parenthood, a new promotion, right, marriage, whatever, they can test your patience. The tough ones, the diagnoses, the hardships, the losses, they test your mettle. So the key is to not let your stress or your sadness steal your joy or keep you from making progress, right? Not all progress is linear either. Sometimes it's 2 steps up and 1 step back, but it's a net gain. And I always said I'd rather be knocked down hard than trapped in a state of inertia, right? Because every action has a reaction. So you knock it down hard enough, it is going to spring back up. But inertia is paralyzing, and we make no progress, and we take no chances. We live in yesterday, afraid of tomorrow, and it is a state of mind driven by fear, right? So how do we face our fear? We crane our necks, right? And we look for that person who's on a similar path, just further down the road, and is still standing. Sometimes that's enough to know that you can get through something, right? You can survive it, or you can attain it. When my husband was first diagnosed, I remember I said, Doc, I don't care what you do, find me one person with his rare form of cancer, and we're gonna look to him. That man, he's still doing okay in Kentucky. And his success kept my husband going for a really long time. And when he passed, I shifted my gaze down the road, and I looked for a widow of a young child who was still standing and smiling. That is the premise behind Changing Chapters, a segment I now do on the Today Show with Hoda and Jenna. And it's also the premise of a part of my website called Life Changers, connecting people in the midst of change with those who have successfully navigated it. And I know I could do a feature on any one of you in here because we are all survivors of something, and we can learn from each other if we share our journeys. So what I'd like to do is tell you a few lessons I've learned from our Today Show Life Changers, a life-ending journey, and a leap of faith. First, the Life Changers. I love this first story, but hold on one second. My allergies are terrible today. Sorry. Okay. No experience is wasted if you are willing to learn from it. No experience is wasted if you're willing to learn from it. One of my favorite Today Show stories featured a man by the name of Vin Baker. If you are a sports fan, that name is probably familiar. He's the assistant coach of the Milwaukee Bucks now, one of the wisest, kindest, most generous human beings I've ever met. In a nutshell, Vin was a 4-time NBA All-Star in his youth. He was a gold medalist. He had amassed a $100 million fortune, quite a businessman. And then he lost it all. He became an alcoholic. In that downward spiral, Vin lost every penny of his fortune, all $100. He lost his business, he lost his home, and he lost his contract with the Celtics. He had to move back in with his parents, such a humbling experience. And he said one day, when he was shaving, he looked in the mirror and he just realized how far he had come or fallen. And he reached out and he called his dad. And his dad said, son, I've been waiting for this. And he took him to AA, and Vin got sober. And then Vin called a dear friend of his, one of the highest level executives at Starbucks, and said, hey, I'm ready to get back in the game. Will you help me out with the job? And he thought he was going to be handed a franchise, or maybe 2, quite a businessman. Instead, he was handed an apron. At Starbucks, Vin worked his way back up to health and the top of his game. And then the Milwaukee Bucks called him and said, we want you back on the court, but this time as a coach. And he helped lead that team to the NBA championship 2 years ago. But it's what he's doing off the court now that really defines him. He said that everything had to happen exactly the way it did for it to reveal his purpose. And he said that basketball is his passion, but his purpose is leading others to sobriety. So trust that no matter what you're going through today, it may reveal a greater purpose tomorrow. No experience is wasted when it's used for good. Number two, there's always something to laugh about. There's something to be said for that adage. I truly believe it. Laughter, it truly is the best medicine. So I started following Lisa Marie Riley in my early days of widowhood. I made a point to watch her Instagram reels right before I'd go to sleep because I had to just end the day on a high note. Just take a look. She is hilarious. These are day-to-day observations from a Staten Island, New York mom. Women, you know what I'm talking about. I loved her. She was hilarious, and she made my early days of widowhood bearable. But what I had no idea at that time was that she was a widow in the making. Lisa Marie Riley, you gotta follow her. She made a point to find something to laugh about every single day to lift the spirits of everyone around her. She is a single mom too now, but instead of barely getting by as her court stenographer background, she is now a stand-up comedian on the circuit, living a life that maybe she wouldn't have chosen, but a life that she loves nonetheless. So look for levity in every day, and if you can't find it, seek it out, because laughter really is the greatest source of stress relief. Number three, keep your arms open. Audrey Parker was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That adage was probably written for her. She was a bridesmaid 23 times, but I'm not even joking. Cupid just kept passing her up. And now she could have believed that that was her station in life. She was going to be the maid. I mean, her 20s passed, then her 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And Audrey said, I just never gave up the notion that there was more out there for me. And, you know, she kept her arms open and her heart open, and in walked Alan, right in the middle of her second bout with cancer, which she successfully won. And now she picks up the rest of that story. Oh, don't you love her? Audrey and Alan, in their mid-70s now, are living happily ever after. And I asked her one time, I said, did you ever give up hope? And she goes, oh no, baby, keep your arms open. So remember that. Your timing is yours alone. Whether it's love or it's a personal goal, it's easy to think that, you know what, maybe my time has passed, or maybe it passed me up altogether and it's never gonna happen. It wasn't meant for me. No, maybe your time isn't just right now. But as we all know, life can change in an instant, and sometimes in a really, really good way too. Number four, it's never too late. Martha Gilreath is a pastry chef in New Orleans with a booming business. The irony, folks, is that she works one block, I've walked it, literally one block from where she lived under the Mississippi River Bridge for years. 16 years, homeless in a box, and addicted. This was a debutante daughter from a well-to-do family in Louisiana. She went to private schools, and Cotillion and her 5 brothers and sisters are success stories by all conventional standards. But addiction doesn't discriminate. She went to college. She said she went to a party in her sophomore year, tried cocaine. Other people can do it once, not her. She became addicted. From cocaine, it went to heroin. Then she would get in trouble. She went to jail. She went to rehab time and time again, until one time she decided, I'll try one more time to get sober. And this time, the rehab had a kitchen where she made a cheesecake for a fellow addict's birthday. And it made that addict smile. And that changed her life. She found her purpose and her worth. And now she is an executive chef making a huge name for herself in New Orleans, where foodies know foodies. And I asked her what her advice would be. And she said, it's never too late. Life's about change. How we face it is a choice. We can live in shame or regret or in the despair of the past, or like Vin, recognize that our hardships may reveal our greater purpose. We can worry about situations over which we have no control, or we can choose, like Lisa, to find levity in any situation and laugh in the face of fear. We can believe that the best is behind us, or worse, has ultimately entirely passed us up, or we can keep our arms open like Audrey and trust that our time is coming. And we can give up on ourselves or the ones we care about or love so very much, thinking that too much time has passed, or too many attempts at whatever have failed. And like Martha, we can try one more time. We can choose to believe that it's never too late. Those are the lessons from some of the life changers. Now to lessons from a life-ending journey. I have a magnet on my refrigerator that simply says, we are all just here to walk each other home. For my husband and I, that journey was 7 years, but I like to show a picture, right? That survived Katrina. You can still see the gash in my head from that was like the framed picture that I grabbed off the wall. But I like to show him when he was strong and handsome. A routine colonoscopy revealed advanced kidney cancer. The doctor was so thorough that she happened to do an ultrasound too. He was under the anesthesia when she told me, and it would be up to me to tell him when he awakened. But I never told him his prognosis. A year maybe. I never told anyone. Not our kid, not my daughter, not his grown son, not his friends. Nobody except for one person. One of my best friends, the face of Massachusetts General Hospital, Dr. Stephanie Moore, with whom I had done a health show in Boston. Her advice was lesson number 1. Never underestimate the power of the mind. The body will go where the mind takes it, Steph said. What do I do? This was, I don't know, 2 hours, but after I found out what the prognosis was, she said, get a candle. Get a candle and light it tonight. Have John focus on the flame. That's his inner will. That's his strength. That's his love for you and Catherine. Have him focus on it. And then have him watch until the wax drips away. Those are the cancer cells. He's got to see it. The body will go where the mind takes it, she said. Forget the prognosis. Forget the odds. Odds are made to be broken. Now, Steph wasn't a cancer doctor, but she was part of the world-famous Massachusetts General Hospital heart transplant team. She is the person that decides who gets the heart. And she said she can often tell who will survive it. Get the candle. We got the candle, and we kept that candle lit, quite literally, for 7 years. As soon as it would burn down, I'd get another one and light the flame from the one before. I did not blow it out until the day he passed. 7 years, well beyond his 1-year prognosis. My husband practiced visualization every day. It is a skill I encourage anyone to employ when faced with an ailment or a fear, right? Watch that wax drip away. And it is why we sell candles at Life's About Change. Number 2, keep the faith. Keep the faith in God, humanity, the universe. Keep the faith. It is easy to believe when things are going well, but when you are faced with some life-altering challenges, your faith tank can run pretty low. Everybody's got something, and a lot of people have a lot, right? Maybe you are running on empty right now. Your fuel tank is on E. That's when we have to tap into the energy around us, because it exists. They exist. Protons circling the atom. Positive energy personified. But you may not notice them unless you engage. So engage when you'd rather withdraw. I'd like to tell you about 2 protons in my life. One was a complete stranger. I remember one day we sought our care at MD Anderson in Houston. So we would go for weeks, sometimes months at a clip. And I was back after one of these months-long trips. And I was in a department store looking for clothes to wear on air. And it was a long line after a long day and a long month. And I just wanted to get out of there. And the woman in front of me in line turns around, and I guess she watched Channel 4, because she has a smile, and she called me my name. Karen, how you doing? Looking back, I'm embarrassed, because I wanted to say, you want to know how I'm doing? I'm stressed, I'm scared out of mind, I just want to get the heck out of here. But, as I'm sure you know, Rita and Diane, we don't want to alienate a single viewer, so instead I smiled, and I said, I'm fine, thank you. And I'll never forget what she said next. Girl, that's good. I've been praying for your husband on my prayer line every morning. God is good, you'll be all right. Phyllis Nabone, the woman in line, she not only turned my day around, we became friends. We're still friends to this day, and she was quite a source of strength. So they're pulling for you right now, maybe next to you, maybe across the room, maybe down the street. The next guy wasn't a stranger. I actually knew him for 20 years. We both worked the night shift. He had 2 jobs and was putting himself through college. I had 1 job. My job was to sit on the anchor desk, and his job was to clean it. Tony Jackson, the custodian. And let me tell you something, he had quite a job to do around my desk. It was kind of in the middle of the newsroom, and our newsroom was a pit anyway. It was just, oh my God, it was so messy. And I had this desk, and it was just, where everyone would gather, and so there's Coke cans, and back in the day there were even packs of cigarettes, not mine. There was a peppermint jar, always had wrappers all over the place, and business cards that were just discarded. One had scripture on it, but one thing you would never see is dust. Tony made sure of that. Fast forward, we're wrapping up a 10 p.m. show, and I can see Tony cleaning our morning show set, which was right around the partition. And you know when you see someone from far away, but you know they haven't seen you, and you think about making a run for it. But instead, I thought, no, let me engage. Let me be the one to be magnanimous. And I say this big whopping, hello, Tony. Well, he lights up like a Christmas tree, because that's just who he is. And this was humility. Tony lights up like a Christmas tree. I say, how you doing? And he says, good. How's your husband? This was early on. I was shocked. I had no idea he had any clue that my husband was sick. I said, okay. And I'm telling you, the dynamic switched. The authority switched. He looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, trust in God. And it just hung there, and I'm staring at him. And he said, did you get that scripture? I left it on your desk. I scribbled it on the back of one of the business cards. That was the business card that I thought had just been tossed away, that I had carefully tucked away and read every single day, because it told me to lean not on my own understanding and have courage. That was you, I said? He said, yeah. Turns out the college he was putting himself through was Bible college. I hugged him, and I walked away so much happier for it. And as I'm walking away, he goes, hey, you like the peppermints? The peppermint jar that was never empty? He was filling it. He goes, I thought you might need something sweet these days. So Tony the custodian, now the Reverend Tony Jackson, the man I almost avoided that day, was silently, anonymously brightening my day every day. People are inherently good. The protons are out there. Tap into them, engage when you'd rather withdraw. We live in a society, I know the younger people know it, our heads are down. Not like I'm one of the younger people, but anyway. Heads are down, right? Our ears, we've got headphones on them. We gotta engage. You might just get the boost you need to get through the day, or maybe an entire journey. So light your candles too. Visualize, see yourself making the breakthrough, because life will go where the mind takes it. And think big, because that brings me to some of the final lessons learned from a leap of faith. A year and a half ago, I was working at a news station. I was a news anchor in New Orleans, where I had a really great job and a nice and consistent paycheck, and I knew what the heck I was doing. And then I decided to quit and start my own business with no experience whatsoever and no real concept of what I didn't even know. I remember my boss, my news director, I was really good friends with, he goes, you're gonna do what? And I go, I got nothing. But it wasn't true. I had this whisper that I couldn't silence. So that's the number one lesson. If you can't silence a whisper, you gotta listen to it. And that lesson for me was Life's About Change, the name of my business, a mindset, a state of being in which joy is attainable no matter the circumstances. People think it was born after my husband's passing. That's actually when it was more resurrected. It was born after Hurricane Katrina, the storm that would change the measure of time for all New Orleanians. That's it. If you were in the storm, it's either before the storm or after the storm. That's how you measure life. Both my husband and I worked through it. My husband was a New Orleans Police Detective Homicide Unit, homicide detective, one of 37 assigned to the Superdome to protect 37,000 people with nowhere else to go. There was no power, no water, no working toilets, leaks in the roof, and 110-degree rays peeking through for 6 days. And after that, he was on body patrol. You saw them I'm sure in all the videos where they'd go door to door and mark the doors for a month, walking through the floodwaters. I worked for the CBS affiliate, the only station to stay on the air and provide continuous coverage for 11 straight days, not a single commercial break. Neither of us would ever know a greater sense of professional purpose, but it came at quite a personal cost, especially to our daughter. This is a picture of my husband and I, my husband and daughter, exactly 1 week, 7 days before the storm hit. And I love it. They all look so good. And she looked like Shirley Temple when she was little. And this is my husband 2 weeks after the storm in our home. When we were reunited as a family, we were the lucky ones, folks. We had a single-level home So we had 5 feet of water. So we lost pretty much everything we owned inside it. But we still had the walls standing. We lost our dog, our black lab named Elvis. He died of heat stroke protecting me. My daughter, there she was there, whom we had never left with a babysitter, ever, once, before the storm. It was very hard for me to have children. I only have one. She was on basically a 6-day odyssey. The storm came up out of nowhere, so I sent her with my sister-in-law, and the family caravaned. And as they ran out of gas, because there was no other gas, they would put all the kids in another car, and they'd go as far as that would take them. So they went from Mississippi to Tennessee to Chicago to Boston. She just bounced from person to person before we were finally reunited. She was never the same again. The anxiety was palpable. She had head-to-toe rashes, hives. The pediatrician didn't diagnose her. Her pediatrician hanged himself in the middle of the storm when he realized he had lost his practice. This is the Hyatt where my colleagues and I rode out the storm. It's all that was left. My colleagues and I are like family, those of us who went through that, including my producer, whom I had known for years and years. She was engaged to a New Orleans police officer who was a dear friend of the family. Because of that connection, it was left to me to tell her that that night, when the storm approached, he went into his squad car and shot himself in the head. This was our neighborhood, our dream on the water, on the lake. Our house was still standing. It's 3 doors down. This is it. I took that picture. So you can see where life as we knew it washed away that day. And we wound up moving to Boston, the most difficult decision I've ever made, because of course you want to just roll up your sleeves and stay and help, but we had to do it for my daughter. And it was there I did a morning show and interviewed the 2 guys who started Life is Good, the t-shirt company with the stick figure. And I remember as I'm driving home, I'm like, life isn't good, life stinks, what do they know? And I'm going down a really dark path, thinking about all the things we lost, our friends, our family, our dog, our house. Life was a lot of things, but it wasn't good. Fast forward years. New Year's morning, January 1st, 2009, I wake up to the sound of my little girl laughing in the other room with my husband. That was my aha moment, literally the moment that changed my entire life. I have a happy daughter, a healthy husband, a roof over my head, and I'm under the covers? No. Life's about change. Life can be good if we shift our focus from what's been lost to what remains and what can be. The storm happened. I can't change it, but I can change the way I react to it and start focusing on the new life ahead with its promises and possibilities. And I know that kind of sounds probably pretty trite and cliche, but when you choose, you actively choose to live in gratitude, mindful of and grateful for even the little things, your reward is joy, and that impact is profound. Jane Pauley recently interviewed Michael J. Fox. I don't know if you saw it recently, but she asked him, despite his obvious hardships, how do you remain so upbeat? And his quote was, I realized with gratitude, optimism is sustainable, the long term. Life's about change. Joy can be your constant no matter what, as long as gratitude is too. So on that New Year's morning, I grabbed a notebook, and I even took a picture of it there it is there. And I wrote, life's about change, and I made my own stick figure with the triangle, the mathematical symbol of change being the body, and I trademarked it. Right? Hindsight is beautiful. I had no idea then that critical shift in attitude would be crucial to navigating all of the storms I had no idea were quite literally right around the bend. John's illness, 7 years, and his passing. My beautiful little girl's subsequent anorexia that left her 1 pound away from her own feeding tube. And then my own cancer. Life's about change, the mindset, the acceptance, the choice, the whisper. I knew I was meant to share it. The question was, when? So lesson number 2 is, if not now, then when? On paper, Life's About Change has existed since 2009, but again, I didn't pursue it until after John passed. And the reason was that doctor friend who told us to get the candle said, you should resurrect it. It'll help people. So I did, and in honor of her, we started with candles. And then she said, let's build the brand. Let's do a podcast. I said, all right, that sounds great. So I remember the date. It was April 22nd of 2021. She's gonna fly down from Boston, and we rented a studio, and we're gonna do a podcast. The reason I remember that date is because the day before, April 21st, 2021, I get appendicitis, right? Of course I do. So I call her, and about 3 hours later, I'm in the hospital bed. I'm going into surgery, and I leave her this video message telling her not to come, but of course she came anyway.
This was unexpected, but I have got incredible doctors, so I'm really grateful. And then we're just gonna move forward, because this is what life is all about, unexpected curveballs.
So that day the curveball was appendicitis. A week later, the curveball was the pathology report, cancer. Appendix cancer, I'd never even heard of it. Had it, in fact, burst, the results would have been catastrophic. As it happened, the doctors both in New Orleans and at MD Anderson said, they got it all, no treatment necessary. Both doctors used the words, you have an angel on your shoulder. I said, yes, I do. His name is John. And both of them said, it's not your time yet. And I said, oh, yes, it is. If it's not your time, this is my time. If not now, then when? So I quit my job and jumped in the deep end. I don't actually recommend that you quit your job. I had to do it for an intellectual property clause in my contract. But you have to make space for whatever it is that you seek. If you want something to be a priority, you gotta make room for it. And then you gotta take the leap. Hold your nose and dive in. Lesson number 3, quitting is not an option. Imposter syndrome is real. Am I worthy of the title or the position I seek for myself or claim? Today I call myself an entrepreneur, and it is so scary. If I fail at the task, will I be perceived as a failure overall? Am I crazy to trade in comfort for the unknown? Do I risk losing the respect that I earned in one arena by revealing the complete ignorance in another? Folks, at my first meeting, I know there are a lot of business people in here, my first meeting with investors, I left Googling P&L. I had no idea they were saying P and L, profit and loss. Okay? No idea, and I'm just smiling. Huh? So, beware, folks, that voice of doubt will threaten to silence the whisper you chose to listen to it. So be ready for it. It'll tell you to choose to return to the easier path and question the risk or sacrifice or the cost and ask you, is it really worth it? It'll have you second guessing whether now is really the right time. If I've learned anything, the only thing people regret are the chances they don't take. The gift we have is right now. So silence the voice of doubt. I don't care what your age is, be like Audrey, that's it. We are going to not quit and go for it. Life's about change. Trust that all of the change that you are going through is part of your purpose. Remind yourself to keep your arms open, because you never know when opportunity or love will present itself. Live in a state of gratitude, and remember that the personal relationships, the journeys we take together, the hands we hold on the walk home are what matters. Be protons in a world filled with too much negative energy these days. And don't worry how you'll be perceived or graded along the way. Grades don't matter, Mom. What does matter are the human bonds we form and the lessons we learn along the way. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do. On Thanksgiving, I'm very grateful for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That we appreciate you embracing change and doing what you're doing, because you certainly uplifted our lives today. Thank you. And I think Diane and I being here today for this particular event for our change, perhaps is because of you. that I finally embraced the change and decided it's time for Diane. And we cannot thank you enough, knowing what we've done out in the field and how many wonderful people you meet. So, thank you.
I echo your sentiments. The protons are out there. I love that. I was writing all kinds of notes as you were talking, and Audrey with the keep your arms open, right? These different things. So thank you for sharing. I think we probably all took away different nuggets from what you said in your life lessons, but thank you for sharing them. Thank you for quitting so that you could do this next round of life and share it with all of us. So it was absolutely beautiful. And on that note, and can we give a big round of applause to Rita Williams, the most wonderful person in the whole world? She was...
I'm going to cry. I didn't know you were going to do that. It's not on the script.
It's not scripted. No. It's not scripted. The hardest working person at KTVU for all the years I was there, and always believed in the truth of the story and telling the story and finding out what the real story was versus sometimes what you were being told. And thank you for your dedication to Pathways for all these years. It was wonderful. Wonderful, and we're excited to see you in the audience next year.
Thank you. I think you have you have to do the housekeeping this time. So if you wrap that up, I'll have the final word.
That's classic. Wait, Mark may have the second to final word.
I'll just take just a minute and echo what you said, Diane. And you know, Rita, you have a special place in all of our hearts. And so we can't let you go after 26 years without some token of appreciation from all of us to you for all that you've done for Pathways. Karen? I can't open it in front of everybody. But I hope you'll appreciate it and hope you'll remember. And of course, we'll see you. We know we'll see you in the future. So, okay. Well, thank you very much. Another round of applause for Rita.
Okay, and I do have some housekeeping to do because I am working here, so I want to make sure I do my housekeeping. So a couple things. The recording from this breakfast will be available soon on Pathways website if you want to watch or share it with a friend. I think all of us would do well in sharing this and Karen's message with others. And don't forget to make your gift to Pathways. You have the envelopes in your programs. You can leave it now. You can hold on to the envelope and bring it with you later. You can always go online and donate online as well. There's all kinds of ways to do that. We have 30 days to meet our $75,000 challenge grant so we can help all the patients and the families with Pathways. So please take that envelope with you, fill it out before you go. It's partly why we're here, to continue this organization and continue to help families in the Bay Area. So on that note, thank you very much for having us. I'm going to let Rita have the last word, and I will see you next year, and thank you for your support of Pathways.
And I just wanted to say that since I retired, I tried to live in the moment, which I didn't always do when I was racing around. And I wake up each morning and I thank God for another day. And I say, how can I help someone else today? And I have tried to do that for the last 10 years. And sometimes I'm just leaving you with this because it kind of is with Karen's talk, is engage people that you come in contact with. I go in the grocery store and I talk to the clerks now. I know they think that little old woman over there is crazy. She doesn't have any friends. She has to talk to everybody. But I stop and I just say, you know, you're working so hard. I notice you're the only checker. What happened? And they just unload on you. And they need to do that sometimes. And I've gone to the manager and gotten more help. You know, little things you do just to say thank you and appreciate what everyone does. I still so appreciate what Pathways has done in my life. I hope it will be here for me when I personally need it. I hope it'll be a while, who knows. But as you know, I always close out by saying, if God's willing and the creek don't rise, I hope we're all back here together next year for the 33rd One from the Heart breakfast. And I hope then Diane will be up here, and I will be down here without any scripts, just enjoying myself. So now please go out and enjoy the gift of another day. Thank you.